Good afternoon. Today is Sunday, December 15th, 2024, and this is the weekly Bitcoin price forecast. So looking at where Bitcoin went in the last week and where it could potentially go in the future. So we are midway through the month of December, and really, as you can see, for the last 4 months, everything has been up. There's been from temporary volatility to where, stuff might have paused for a little bit, or it may have retraced, but overall, it has just absolutely rocketed to the upside. So really everywhere from September, October is usually, October, a great month. November is usually the best month, and that did follow this year too. We don't know how December is going to end too, but we're midway through. Stuff is kind of slowing down for Christmas and the holidays and whatnot. So we'll have to see how that shakes out, and we'll kind of look at the chart to see a little bit of what could potentially be. But yeah, again, like I said, this is on the monthly chart. We're so far above like the previous all-time high of the 2021 bull run that we're absolutely in new territory. So let's go down to the weekly chart. Really, that run-ups in September, like I said, there were some pauses and whatnot, series of movements that were sideways and not really going in any direction. But Bitcoin does this thing where it pauses for a little while and then it just absolutely takes off. And then it'll stall out for a little bit and then it'll take off. But right now where we're at, I think we're, we were in reasonable range for this to have these type of ups and downs and swings, just because you are hitting a lot of these key levels all at once. So you're hitting 100,000. You are hitting the long-term trend line that looks like we're about to break it right now. We are above it. We've had a weekly close above it, and it looks like we're about to get another one. And then you have the top of this channel that I've had in here since that channel started in September of 2023, so a little over a year ago, and that we're at the top of there now. So it's a reasonable to see a lot of resistance here, and it's reasonable that we didn't just absolutely blow through 100K and that it took some type of pause there for a second. So it's kind of regrouping, and there's still action going on. There's still a ton of action going on. And we'll look at a little bit of that later. Definitely a lot of buying action, but it's reasonable that people take profits at this level and kind of stall out too. So that's let me see. That's it for the weekly chart. If I go down to daily, really on the daily chart, what you ended up having was this kind of wedge that ended up forming. So you ran all the way up to about 88K, and then it stopped for a second. Then you ran up, almost tapped 100K, but didn't. And then finally did it on the 5th of December. But overall, if you look at it, it's just bouncing between this ever-tightening level. Almost looked like it was going to break it right there, but not quite. And then on Wednesday of last week, Wednesday of this past week, you just had a major day from 96 going all the way up over 100, and it's really stayed over 100 ever since. Like even this smaller candle, it dropped down, but then it ended up coming up. So the interesting part is, we're at the top of this level, and it looks like it's broken above. So you can see like this wicked up but couldn't close, that wicked up, this wicked up. You have all these wicks, but now it looks like you're going to get a daily close on a Sunday, no less. So we'll see how that looks, especially as the markets start to open at 5 p.m. I want to say that's Eastern time or Central. Yeah, Central time, I think it is. 5 p.m. Central, you'll start to have the futures market open up. So you could see some like pullback before Monday, but again, we'll have to see. The overall point is that we are above that point of resistance, and really the next, even like plausible stop would probably be about 150, just because it moves fast. This stuff moves fast, and again, there's not a lot of resistance right here. So once those big buys start to come in, and going into a new year too, that type of adds a little bit of fuel to the fire. So it's looking good. It's looking good at this point, and we'll just keep on moving forward. As for the news, economic news this week, not really much. There is a major release on the 18th, which is Wednesday. So that's going to be your federal funds rate. That is what we believe that the new interest rates are going to be moving forward. So that is a major piece of economic news. At this point, we're at 4.75%. And you see we're in the rate cutting cycle. So that'll end up going down. They say their target is 2, so they'll get there by 25 and 50, sometimes even 75% basis point cuts. So yeah, I think they're forecasting 4.5%. So it could be 4.5 or it could be 4.25, depending on if they want to do a larger cut going into the end of the year. But we'll just have to see how that ends up shaking out. other than that, no real major news for the rest of the year. I would think. Let's actually fast forward. The next week you have Christmas and all that, and yeah, see, there's nothing. So this will be the last major piece of news for 2024. The federal funds rate that will be released on December 18th at 2 p.m. So that's 1 p.m. Central Time. So it's good. Yeah, I'm expecting to cut there, which ends up raising the rest of the markets, both stock, equities, crypto, whatever it ends up being. It ends up pumping those asset prices. So, yeah, that's it on economic news. The block. This is basically just a data website, just looking at stuff that's on chain pretty much. So I'm seeing the Bitcoin ETFs, right? So on ETF volumes, we see there was a big spike at the beginning, and then it died off for some time as Bitcoin's price sank for a while. But as we can see in recent weeks, a lot of that volume has returned. And then this is cumulative, so it adds up over time. So you see there are periods of like steep rises, and then there's not much happening, but there's still stuff being added to it. So cumulatively, at this point, there's been $600 billion worth of volume in these ETFs. So that's pretty good to see. It's promising, right? You see this growth over time. Spot ETF flow. So this is negative and positive. So we can see now we're in the range where we're at a certain point we were hitting about $1 billion a day, but right now it's about 500 million. And much of the selling, as we can see, has stopped, and much of that selling was coming from Grayscale, kind of rebalancing after the ETF was released. But as you can see now, those red lines have started to dissipate. It's not as it's not strong anymore. So I mean that kind of takes a little bit of pressure, sell pressure off of Bitcoin and the rest of the crypto space when major players like that are not selling. What else you got? What else do you have? We don't really need to look at too much of this, but the major ones here being IBIT, which is Grayscale. Grayscale, that is BlackRock. IBIT is BlackRock. FBTC, that's Fidelity. And then GBTC, I want to say it's Grayscale. Art Capital, and then just some others. Which, I mean, these other ones are insignificant. You see, this is 7 others all held in these blue blocks. So really, I mean, the big one is BlackRock and Fidelity, right? So this BitB doesn't really show up. Art, kinda, but barely. GBTC, you see that one start to show up, so that's Grayscale. FBTC, that's Fidelity, and then you see the rest of it is absolutely dominated by BlackRock. So definitely interesting to see how the flows of money into Bitcoin have kind of transitioned over time. So we will have to see how that ends up shaking up. But I do expect more volume. So this is another piece of news this week. So one of the big things that everyone was watching was what was Microsoft going to do. So they had a vote on December 10th, which basically was them voting to adopt Bitcoin or not. And so it's interesting just because now we have like a lot of corporate adoption on the table. And I thought that they would actually, if not, maybe they didn't pass it, but I thought the vote would be much higher. I think I read something somewhere where that only 0.55% of people voted for it. So that was a bit surprising. I know Microsoft is it's a blue chip company. It's not just solely, once you get blue chips like that you start having hedge funds and other different large entities that have say so in these votes in these shareholder meetings. So it's not a retail decision. This is much more of a high level finance decision too. So like that was a 0.55% yes vote. So it's interesting. That don't stop the show at all. It just keeps Microsoft behind the 8 ball. Other companies will be able to capitalize off that as they kind of adopt Bitcoin and do all the type of stuff. But we'll see how this ends up shaking out. I think we're going to see a lot of corporate adoption, especially in 2025, and then going on to 2026 and further. At this point, Bitcoin is pristine capital. It's institutional grade finance collateral. So that's an interesting one. But we'll see. That was December 10th. The other piece of information that came out, which I think was also on December 10th, was my favorite stock, GameStop. GameStop disclosed their third quarter results in 2024. The big overview was, net sales were up about 800 million from compared to the prior year's third quarter. Selling in general expenses for the period were actually a little bit lower compared to a year before. Net income was 17 million. Net loss of 3 million for the prior year. So yeah, it's that. Listen, GameStop has been doing well. They're sitting on so much cash at this point that they can. I think we're going to see some big things coming out of GameStop over the next year, really. And it's not going to be the same as 2020. They've got a lot cooking behind the scenes. So we're not doing. I think it said something about not doing at the market sales anymore. So there was a lot of dilution in this stock, pretty much, with GameStop adding more and more stocks to it. But at this point, it seems that they're not doing it. So the company does not anticipate any further at-the-market offerings involving the offer and sale of its common stock during the current fiscal year, which I think that ends in February of next year. So again, if they're not, there's a lot on the horizon for GameStop. That's what I'll say at this point. I think I got a video or two on YouTube at this point about GameStop. So I mean, if you have any time, go check those out. I think it's going to be a showstopper for sure. But other than that, I don't really have too much. This has been Chris Talks Crypto. Check out our Crypto Beast resources on christalkscrypto.com. Check out the Escape Velocity Bootcamp. I think we may end up doing a sale in the next week or so here, so pay attention for that. Definitely want y'all to get this information. But other than that, y'all take care. I will see you on the moon. Bye-bye.